The Baltimore Ravens let the first offseason domino fall as we get closer to free agency. And while it's not a surprise, it does make it clear that everything is getting a little more real.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the number one sports podcast network. Appreciate everybody for being here, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day. We have 5 days a week plus more of daily Ravens coverage and content for you. Now we're twice per day on Locked On Ravens, in the morning here at 6 a.m. Eastern time and in the evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern time for Locked On Ravens PM. Thanks to all the everydayers, the first-time listeners. If you're somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. And on today's show, the Ravens let an official domino fall. As closer and closer we get to free agency, we're going to dive into that. And again, it's not shocking, but definitely feels a little more real with free agency coming up. So we'll dive into that in the latest. We'll also dive into Kyle Van Noy sticking up for Tyler Linderbaum, as his contract situation is very complicated at the moment based off of all the reports we're seeing. And then finally, we'll get into some general Ravens free agency notes. And here to do all of that with me here today on this midweek edition of the show, it is former Baltimore Ravens wide receiver and Super Bowl champion Qadry Ismail of Missile Training and MissileTraining.com, as well as the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. And Q, we're almost done with speculation time. We're less than a week away from the tampering period, now officially a week away here on Wednesday from the new league year beginning. So we're saying, who's going to go where? Is this guy going to come back? Are the Ravens going to sign this guy? Well, sooner rather than later, we won't have to speculate, and we'll start to get a really clear picture of what this team's going to look like in 2026.
Well, I'm thankful because I know this is where you dwell. I keep saying it. This is the offseason. This is how superior Kevin is, and the speculation. You can speculate with the best of them, and the majority of the time you're accurate and on point. Me, on the other hand, I suffer. I suffer because I don't care. I want to see what I see, not guess what I guess. Now, with that said, yes, we have an understanding of, well, this guy was franchised. This guy wasn't franchised. Ooh, this guy's going to potentially work out a deal. Nope. They worked out a deal and shipped that guy out of there, and he's no longer a part of the team. He's with another team. Those are the things that now we move into that phase. The combine's over. The board, if you will, is starting to be set across the 32 teams of who they feel are their top 150 players that are draft eligible, and how do you look at them? Still some individual, or I should say college pro days to be had. And so those college pro days, those scouts are going to go out there and either confirm what they already knew, or they might be surprised. And this gives guys opportunities now to, show what they can do and potentially be a late round pick or undrafted rookie free agent and kind of kickstart their career. So these next few weeks, boy, you're going to see guys be able to get that second contract and make that generational wealth and put themselves in good position. Tax man cometh. Can't forget about that. Tax man taketh away. However, for the most part, yes, this is a good, interesting time. Not so much speculation. Now it kind of hones in on, hey, this is what is going on, to help say to a team, look, we really want this guy. Fan base now can see, they want him. Clearly for us, we're talking, Linderbaum. He is going to be priority number one. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's not going anywhere, so that's not a big deal. It is in terms of the salary cap, but as far as free agency, as far as team building, that's where these next steps, they come in, and it's so important to see what Irk gets a chance to do and get done.
Yeah, it all kind of goes in a specific order here. Obviously, extensions and re-signings can happen here, but the official big domino, or at least one of the official big dominoes, officially fell on Tuesday with the franchise tag, the tag deadline officially passing over on Tuesday afternoon. And while it was widely expected the Ravens were not going to put the tag on Tyler Linderbaum, Isaiah Likely, any of their free agents. It officially happened. Derrick DeCosta said almost essentially as much. He said probably not when asked if he was going to use the franchise tag or transition tag. But you never know when Derrick DeCosta says probably not. Does he have something cooking up his sleeve? And is there going to be something that happens that he's not saying or being sly about? But yes, this was widely expected. It's not a surprise or a shock to me, Q, especially considering the Ravens did decline the fifth-year option initially, particularly obviously with Tyler Linderbaum. The offensive line, how it works with the tag number is that it is all offensive linemen's numbers put together, not just, center position, guard position, tackle position. So non-exclusive franchise tag was about $27.7 million, $27.8 million there. The tight end franchise tag was about $15 million there. So not a huge shock, but it does make it a bit more real as the Ravens just have under a week to figure this thing out with Linderbaum in particular. I think a lot more people are privy to the fact that Isaiah Likely is probably walking out the door of this free agency, but time is ticking, and this is getting really close and down to the wire with Linderbaum, like it did with Ronnie Stanley. They're able to get him back, but as we talk about on the squad show, and as I've mentioned before, this was not, or I guess for Stanley, that was not his first NFL payday. For Tyler Linderbaum, this is, and there are a lot of other factors that go into that. So are you shocked at all, Q, that the Ravens decided not to get Linderbaum or Likely under the tag, or was this your, again, widely expected outcome?
Yeah, it's interesting because we do have reference back to Ronnie Stanley, and when he first got his first contract, remember, rankings-wise, Ronnie Stanley was rated the number one left tackle. Left tackles are super coveted. When you look at before the injury and what this team did historically running the football, Ronnie Stanley was worth the money, big time. You knew you had to pay him to anchor down the offensive line. The injury happened, so be it. That was tough. With Tyler, he is ranked as one of the best, and every other team knows that he's one of the best, and they need this position to be filled on their team. So if there's more salary cap space, more money to spend, if you're another team, that's where it gets tough. Because if I'm Tyler, I'm like, look, y'all got to pay me some significant upfront money. I'm not worried about the yearly average. I want upfront money. That's where a player can say, okay, they really want me, depending upon how much upfront money you're giving me. Therefore, Eric has to put himself in a position to negotiate and say, yeah, I'm willing to give you the most upfront money that no other team can really match. And therefore, you're going to be a Raven. Simple as that.
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting turns this has taken, for lack of a better phrase, over the last couple of weeks. And I've been very clear in saying this, Q, that really since a couple of weeks ago, every day that this thing drags on and there are more reports that come out, I feel less and less optimistic that Linderbaum will be a Raven. And again, I say that. And then, of course, like today, they're going to sign him. Everything's going to be all good. And hey, if that happens, we're claiming again. We're claiming it. The reverse jinx here on Locked On Ravens. I'm going to claim that. So want to put that out there. But there have been a lot of interesting other reports. And I talked about this a little bit on Locked On Ravens PMQ, that Jeff Zrebiec of The Athletic reported in an article over on The Athletic on Monday. The whole athletic staff, they put together an article of kind of the combine and what everybody learned about each team. Jeff Zrebiec said, quote, the Ravens aren't thrilled with where contract negotiations stand with center Tyler Linderbaum. And said it was kind of when DeCosta revealed those market-setting offer comments and whatnot, Jeff said it was a significant departure from how the normally tight-lipped organization does business. Now, there are other reports. Linderbaum is looking for $25 million per year. Jeremy Fowler is saying maybe $22.5 million is a sweet spot. When we're talking about market setting, we truly don't know what that means, because it could mean, hey, we're going to reset the market by $100,000 a season and give you 18.1 or whatever it is, and just barely break that threshold. Or it could be the Ravens that they offer him $1 million more than the current top guy in Creed Humphrey. Was it $2 million more? I doubt it probably goes any harder or longer than that, or in terms of money. I don't think it probably gets any more expensive than that, but maybe it did. So with all this stuff coming out, there have been other reports, Q, about Linderbaum's agent and him like not responding to calls or, attempts to communicate. Everybody in free agency values different things. And I'm never going to bash anybody for valuing what they want to value, whether it's money, championship, potential, situation, whatever it may be. But it just feels like a very weird situation that has all these weird updates coming out about it. And it's very rare that an offensive lineman at Tyler Linderbaum's caliber hits the open market like this, especially when we know so many teams would covet a center like Linderbaum if he does hit the open market. We're seeing teams move off of their centers like Tennessee and the Commanders. Chicago center retired on Tuesday, so they're now another suitor for him. Like something I've said and something Jeff has also echoed and a lot of other people as well. If Linderbaum hits this open market queue, he's as good as gone, but there are so many other things that are going on with the situation. It's pretty confusing.
Yeah, it really is. And but this is where, you're in a position of strength if you're his agent, because there are other teams now that, like you said, with Chicago looking in the market, with Tennessee now looking in the market for a center. That's leverage for Tyler Linderbaum's camp. The Eric camp, the Ravens, they have their formula and they're looking at their metrics and numbers, and they're going to give him a number. Probably not going to be the biggest number, but then he's going to counter it. And so that's where the back and forth ping ponging goes. You got about 5 days before he goes and hits the open market. Not franchising him just says that, look, we're willing to risk it. And so I'm curious as to what is it that his agent is looking for, and what is it that the Ravens are willing to offer. And that's where the two sides, there's some rhetoric going on that I don't know is not typical. So I'm curious if it's a good, faith negotiation, or this is one of those scenarios where you're getting Tyler Linderbaum and his camp saying, all right, well, we're about to head out the door. Looks like you're either going to get a veteran or you're going to be drafting a newbie at the position of center.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty big disaster, in my opinion, if Linderbaum walked out the door. But the reality is, if Linderbaum does get close or around $25 million a season, or maybe he gets that number, it's something where then maybe Baltimore just has to look and says, we got to do maybe the 80% of the production for 20% of the cost rule and stuff along those lines. Coming up, we'll continue our conversation about Tyler Linderbaum in a couple of different ways, including one of his Ravens teammates sticking up for him on social media. So be sure to stay tuned. Plenty coming up on the show. This episode is sponsored by Betterhelp. March is a time to celebrate women, especially around International Women's Day, and to recognize just how much they carry at work, in relationships, in families, and in all the unseen roles they step into every single day. It's easy to celebrate that strength, but it's just as important to make space for their emotional well-being. And honestly, that goes for all of us. And for me, my mom has been someone that's been a rock for me over the course of my life. And I think about my mom and how much she carries without always saying so. And it makes me think, how many of us are doing the same thing? The roles we play, the expectations we carry, the pressure we don't always talk about. Therapy can help with all of that, creating balance, setting healthy boundaries, and supporting your overall well-being. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, and it works. Fill out a short questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it's not the right fit, switch at any time. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's betterhelp.com/lockedon. Back on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher still here with you. Qadry Ismail here as well. We're diving into everything Ravens related, especially as this free agency period creeps closer and closer. Thanks so much for being here and making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. We have 5 days a week plus more of daily Ravens coverage twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern time for you. And that's on top of everything else we give you, like bonus episodes, instant reaction shows, watch-alongs, the squad show, which Q and I and Sam and Joku, we chop it up twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll have that for you later tonight. And also the Everydayer Club on Locked On Ravens, where You can get some exclusive and add-on content like one-on-one text conversations with me, access to ad-free episodes, a Discord server, weekly Q&As, and actually now there is a promo code to use, free agency. If you want a month free of the Everydayer Club right now, that promo is going on with the start of free agency coming up. So again, that is code free agency for a free month of the Everydayer Club right now. And that you can find linked in the description below, as well as on the Locked On Ravens page on the Locked On Ravens website. But Q, let's continue before we get into Kyle Van Noy sticking up for Tyler. I want to ask you this question, because the Ravens obviously declined the fifth-year option on Linderbaum. That number came in around $23 million. If he signs for a deal that is that or more, was it foolish in the first place for the Ravens to decline that option on Linderbaum, because you could have had him for the year and then kind of figured stuff out? Yes, you would have reset the center market by about $5 million. So it made sense at the time why they did that. But the assumption was that, okay, you're declining that fifth-year option because you're going to be able to get him on a $19 million per year deal, a $20 million per year deal. That is not, because again, if you accepted that fifth-year option, you would have been competing with yourself against the market. Like, there was no reason to do it if you thought you could get him on a cheaper contract. But now that it's looking like, hey, maybe he does get 23, 24, 25, does that look to you the wrong decision for the Ravens? Or is that just too much money to pay to a center outright right now, especially when a $25 million deal would reset the market by like $7 million?
Okay, miss me with the whole reset the market. Every time, reset the market. Mother of pearl, the market's been reset every single time the salary cap goes up and guys go to free agency. I mean, that's just common sense, and that's what it's all about. And I think that, some of these general managers trying to act all, tight with the purse strings, that you got a market that is the market, period. You got a salary cap that keeps going up. So I know you're trying to keep the money for the billionaire owners, but the multimillionaires, if they play and play well, that's something where they have leverage, and they're going to use that leverage to their advantage. You didn't fifth-year option him, so okay, now you made your bed, you got to lay in it. We know that before Tyler Linderbaum, the Ravens had issues at center. Remember the Buffalo Bills game where you had your star quarterback get a concussion? Why? Because the ball flew over his head, and all of a sudden he's running back, and boom, back of his head hits the hard Bills turf in the, divisional round of the playoffs?
Yep.
Mother of pearl. You didn't get a chance to finish. You're out. You had issues when it came to blitz pickups. Remember the Miami game when there was zero blitz and all that jazz? Well, that was the reason why you went out and got a center. You got the center. The dude produced. Now he's like, hey, show me the money to keep me on this team. This second contract means an awful lot. That's the way the offseason works. I pay my players who have earned the right. Boom, he's earned the right. Just as you paid Mark Andrews, who has earned the right. Well, good. Now you have Tyler Linderbaum. You had Ronnie Stanley. Good. Now you got Tyler Linderbaum. Good. You're taking care of your own. You're taking care of your own guys. You had Lamar Jackson. Boom. Took care of him as well. Okay, you had Kyle Hamilton. Took care of your own. Keep taking care of your own. This is an opportunity to take care of your own and keep Tyler Linderbaum in-house. Should have done it with the fifth-year option. Mistake on your part.
It's such a tricky slope because, again, I think if he does get that 25, because it's the same conversation almost, I believe, is the fifth year, where if you give him that 23-ish million dollars, he's going to come to the table and say, well, you're already paying me 23, so that's my starting point. And I think it might be the same. Hey, you're already paying me 25.7 with the franchise tag. But it's just so interesting because the reality you're now staring down is Linderbaum leaving and you having to pivot to an option, maybe like a Connor McGovern from Buffalo. Maybe is there a trade on the table for somebody? Do you sign a Tyler Biadasz from the Commanders? Some of these recently released centers that could maybe be options for you. But the problem is that, look, I'm not calling Linderbaum a perfect player by any stretch of the imagination, Q. I know that there are some things that he isn't as good at as other centers, but in reality, he's been a really good leader for them. He's been pretty stable on the offensive line in general. I get there are some pass protection issues with the numbers and whatnot, but he's somebody that also had to play next to two really poor guards last season. Linderbaum didn't have his strongest year, but in reality, he's someone that still is a very valuable player, and essentially doing your entire interior of your offensive line and losing, in my opinion, your best O lineman would be a very tall task for a team that already knows they have to hit both guard positions out of the park. And now you'd have to add a center to that you think, okay, well, you get a pretty stable base floor with Linderbaum, but there's a lot of risk in going away from that despite the money, which again, 25 is a lot of money per year for a center. Like, I totally understand that. In my opinion, like, there is a cap on what you can pay anybody, right? There's a cap on what you can pay anybody based off how good or bad it is for the team. Quarterback is, I think, the one exception because, if you have an elite quarterback, you're not letting that guy walk out the door if he's in his prime and really, really good. But the center position is one where it's like, okay, if it's not Linderbaum, who is it going to be? You have to have an answer there. If you don't have an answer there and you're not confident in that, you can't just say, all right, here's a 7th round rookie who's going to start. You need to be able to have your answers if you are confident enough to let Linderbaum walk. But again, $25 million is a lot of money there. Now, Kyle Van Noy, he stuck up for his Ravens teammate. From our guy, Sam Njoku, Sam wasn't being malicious or anything, but it was under Sam's tweet. So got to give a shout out to Sam, and we'll definitely bring this up tonight on the Squad Show. Sam put out, because there has been a report that Tyler Linderbaum, according to Albert Breer, is looking for $25 million per season. And Sam quoted that and said he's not getting $25 million. And Kyle Van Noy responded to Sam and said, I'll bet you he gets real close to it, if not receives that if he hits the open market. Sam responded and said, I'm guessing $23 million, which is still a crazy market reset for the position. And then Kyle Van Noy responded, how so? Why can't he be worth it? Because he's not an all-pro. That's given by the media because he didn't grade high because of PFF. Tyler is a dream at center. He's legit and will make any O-line he goes to better. And then Sam responded, I'm just going through the whole interaction. Sam responded and said, even if he wasn't all pro, to reset the market by $7 million would be tough. I think he's a top 3 center, so he deserves the money. Just don't see it, but I could definitely be wrong because everybody wants him. And Kyle Van Noy then responded, yes, $7 million is a lot, but how many 3-time Pro Bowlers make it to the open market in their prime? Teams usually lock him up, right? That's why I think he can probably get it. Teams are hungry for a center, especially one like Tyler. Browns restructuring the contract of their whole O-line. Monken knows Tyler. Raiders need help. Giants, LA Chargers. All it takes, the two teams going at it. And next you think, $25 million, $7 million increase. Name the last person to reset the market at any position that was a 3-time Pro Bowler hitting the open market. So, Kyle Van Noy is correct, Q. And it's very rare that this type of thing happens. And when it does, teams are going to jump all over the opportunity. But still, there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it, and teams that just have 50 million in cap space, 100 million in cap space. They're just more well-positioned to give a guy, especially teams who have rookie quarterbacks on rookie contracts. They're more well-positioned to give Linderbaum a contract like that, where for the Ravens with their needs, it is a much trickier situation.
So it's kind of interesting because when you look at Seattle, for example, when they had Russell Wilson go through his contract issues and situation, they knew they had to cut ties with him, but then they go ahead with a quarterback that was somewhat upper tier in Geno Smith, but then they cut ties with him again and they go ahead with Sam Darnold, who was looking for a pretty fair deal for his services, and they had the opportunity to go on and win the Super Bowl. What is my point? When you got good players, you pay the players. You're not trying to overpay the players, but you also know that you have to have a good foundation. Lamar Jackson, franchise player, he's on his, mega deal, no longer a rookie deal, but his mega deal is coming up. The whole rebuilding of a team or building a young player, that's a bit tricky to me. I think that because Tyler is a known player and because Tyler does have a good resume, you should have did the 5th-year option, however you wanted to do it. You didn't do it. You didn't franchise him, but pay him. I like what KVN is saying, even though KVN is not officially a Raven, but yeah, I like what he's saying.
There's a lot of different moving pieces here. I'm intrigued to see how it all works out. Coming up in the final part of the show, we'll talk about some more Ravens free agency notes as it picks up and we get closer to the start of it all. So stay tuned. Plenty coming up on the show.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher, Qadry Ismail, still here with you, breaking down Ravens content and coverage here for you. Is we are just days away, now a week away from the new league year and under a week away from the start of legal tampering period. And there are a lot of Ravens notes to talk about. We've talked a lot about Tyler Linderbaum, the franchise tag situation and whatnot. There was another, I guess, note that was put out by Jeff Zrebiec, and I also mentioned this over at Locked On Ravens PMQ. I want to get your thoughts on it, though. And this is something that's been kind of put out there at times and reported and kind of floated. But in terms of Isaiah Likely, there was a comment from Sean on social media that said, quote, "I didn't agree with extending Andrews, but sounds like EDC tried to work them both, and Andrews' deal came together first and can't be upset about that." And Jeff Zrebiec at The Athletic, he responded and said, quote, "Yeah, Likely was the priority. They tried on multiple occasions. When it was clear there was a gap, they started working on Andrews, whose deal was always going to be more team-friendly than what they'd be able to do with Likely." So, again, I guess what you can say is the Ravens tried, and I don't know the timeline or the process that was for Likely. He obviously got injured over the course of camp and missed time, came back after the start of the season, and I don't know what he was asking for or whatnot, but this doesn't feel like a situation, and it never did feel like the Ravens never had conversations with Likely. I mean, I assume that they did try to get something done, and the price points were just too far apart. You know, with Andrews getting 13 million, I don't know if Likely was asking for 15, 16. Was he asking for the 13 Mark was looking for? This whole situation with Likely, again, I think everybody is kind of understanding the fact that he's not going to be back in Baltimore next season, but I guess they went with the guy that they could in this case, where if Likely wasn't budging on his price and the Ravens didn't feel like that was worth it, and again, I don't know that number, I guess they pivoted to the guy that they felt was, all right, hey, we're comfortable giving you that money, so here it is.
I think for the Ravens, when Isaiah Likely had his Jones fracture, that's where they thought they had him. We have leverage because now this guy, who we know is phenomenal, has tremendous upside, we can probably get a good price and keep him on the cheap. Well, Isaiah feels comfortable with betting on himself, and I think for him, as much as he's a go-to threat, they didn't feel like that negotiating with you, who we thought we'd get a team-friendly deal, it didn't work out. And so with it not working out, now it puts pressure on them to figure something out, and them figuring something out is going to who? Mark Andrews. Going to Mark Andrews, okay, we're going to get a team-friendly deal, but you're also getting an aging player who, doesn't come up in the clutch as well as Isaiah Likely. That's just the bottom line. Now, with that said, okay, cool. You're going ahead and you roll the dice. I think for Isaiah Likely, he's going somewhere, and he's going to be a number one. He's going to be a stud, and he's going to make plays for whatever quarterback. That's just how it is, and that's the business of football.
Again, I definitely don't blame him for wanting a bigger role. I think he has that potential and that talent. You know, obviously, I was hoping that was going to be in Baltimore. And look, I'm gonna be sick if he's in that Cincinnati jersey or that New England jersey or that KC jersey. If Kelsey retires, I've been saying that. I'm like, I don't, I want to see him be successful wherever he goes. Obviously, of course, the only time is when he plays the Ravens. That's why you got to have an off game this week. But hey, go out there and have great games outside of that. But to me, I'll just be like, man, what could have been? There's a lot of what ifs or what could have been for every single team in sports. But for the Ravens, I think that'll be a big one. But again, we don't really know how those conversations went with Likely and what the numbers he was asking for were. With just a couple days away, Q, do you feel like this Lamar extension is going to get done? Is there anything that, you think? I know there's been something that's come out about the Ravens can move money around if they really need to and can do that without Lamar's permission. That was an article from Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano. An extension helps everybody, but obviously the money will be moved around one way or the other. Multiple people in the organization has made that clear. That's not as stressful as the stuff. It's a huge storyline, but all this Linderbaum stuff and Likely stuff is like, man, that's what's taking up everybody's minds right now. But at some point, this thing's going to get figured out. I mean, it has to be in order for the Ravens to get that money back. But what's your thought process on the Lamar situation right now?
Yeah, I'm curious. You know what? He waited until there were significant movement from other quarterbacks in the market, and Jalen Hurts was the final straw that he then went to Eric with, and they got a good deal done and got more than what Jalen Hurts was in line for. So I guess my question back to Mr. Speculator himself, what are we looking at as far as other quarterbacks that are out there in Lamar's situation? Like Josh Allen, before this past season started, got his money. We know that Patrick Mahomes, a couple of weeks ago, got his money restructured. Who else is on that Lamar Jackson level?
On the Lamar level, I mean, in terms of guys that are going to actually hit free agency, I mean, it's not a bunch right now where you're going to have, really, it's like if guys like Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Drake May, that's all 2029 stuff. But did those guys sign earlier than that? In terms of 2027, I mean, Daniel Jones, I think, and he just got the tag from Indy. I mean, is that going to be an extension? But he's obviously nowhere near Lamar's level, so it's not like that.
No.
That's not a barometer in terms of, okay, that and Daniel Jones, Lamar and Daniel Jones are comparable. So it's tough because, Josh got his deal. I think that's kind of the benchmark and the threshold. Dak is another one that you look at, not in terms of on the level of Lamar, but like he's super mega paid. So that's another guy. So I think what it could come down to is like, look, if Lamar feels, because last year was a down year from Lamar standards. So if Lamar's looking at that and being like, this is going to be a better system, I'm going to be healthy, the offensive line is going to be better, the offense is going to be better, does he say, let's just wait one more season? You can give me the money I want and what I feel like I'm worth now, but if you're not going to do that, then I'm going to go out there, ball out again. You can move the money around, and then I'm going to have a great season next year. And then that price is going to go up because the salary cap will go up again, most likely. And then you have a much better season. Maybe it's another MVP, or maybe it's close to an MVP, or maybe they win a Super Bowl. Maybe they make the Super Bowl. And then all of a sudden you have even more leverage if you're Lamar. So obviously I want the extension to get done. Like it's good for the Ravens. Lamar earns a payday that he deserves, but it just depends on, I think, where Lamar is at with the entire situation. So there's so much with all these situations, but hey, sooner or later, we will know how they all unfold. Q, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for hopping on. On the way out, be sure to tell people where they can find you and what you're working on.
Yeah, missile training. Missile training is what I do as far as human movement and sports performance training, and you can find me at missiletraining.com. Missiletraining.com is where I am at and located, and love to communicate with you for your human movement and sports performance needs. It doesn't matter if you're an individual, team training, group training, pro day training, collegiate athlete, pro athlete. Doesn't matter the sport, baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse, swim, you name it, track and field. We do it all here at Missile Training, missiletraining.com. Definitely come see me. And WJZ, where you'll see me on my purple shows each and every week. Alex Glaze, myself, Grace Grill, we all sit back and chop it up and get a lot of work done as far as getting information out to you each and every week, especially during the football season with our Purple Passion now and Purple Pregame. Now, that being said, of course, you have the Locked On Show with Kevin Oestreicher right here each and every week. With that, Kevin is in his off-season groove, so I'm sitting back and I'm just riding his coattails, because when it's in season, oh yeah, we get serious. We get down to the nitty gritty because there's no more guesswork. I can tell you what you're seeing and some of the nuance, and we just chop it up, give you all your Raven needs. Of course, Sam and Joku, he joins us for the squad show. Squad show twice a week, year round. Plus, during the season, we have our post-game squad show breaking down all the Ravens ins and outs of why they won the game or why they had a tough time and went down in defeat. We give it all to you right here on the Locked On Network.
Yes, we do. And Q, you can catch him wherever he is at. And he's everywhere, by the way. He just heard it there, and he also pops up a lot of other places as well. So be sure to go support him. Links will be in the description down below. Q, I appreciate you again. Thanks so much. And thank you to everybody who watched and listened today to Locked On Ravens. Coming up this evening, we will have Locked On Ravens PM at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, then the squad show at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and then in the morning, we'll be back with our regularly scheduled programming. So be sure to stay tuned. Hit the like and subscribe button in video form. Follow along and subscribe in audio form. And I'll see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.